All right, so you want to know more about real estate investing? Well, get ready, because today we're diving deep into Ken McElroy's book, The ABCs of Real Estate Investing, to uncover the practical insights and maybe bust some myths along the way.
Sounds like a plan. I think Invest Synopsis did a fantastic job breaking down the key points in their YouTube series, too. So we've got a lot to unpack.
Yeah, for sure. Let's start with this one I hear all the time. You need to be loaded to invest in real estate. Like, is that even true?
Melroy says not at all. He started with just a condo, a modest down payment, nothing crazy.
Okay, but then how do you get to those bigger investments? Like how do you go from a condo to an apartment complex? You don't just magically become rich overnight, right?
Right. Well, he used partnerships. That's how he got involved with a $9 million apartment project.
Oh, wow, that's a big jump. But hold on, wouldn't a bigger deal like that be, I don't know, riskier? I always thought bigger deals meant bigger risks.
That's another myth Melroy tackles head on. He actually found larger deals, when done right, to be less risky.
Hmm. Okay, how so? I'm curious now.
Well, think about it. Owning a condo solo versus having a 10% stake in a massive project. In the bigger project, the risk is spread out. Plus, the financing works differently.
The financing, huh? Could you break that down a bit? Like, what's different about financing a huge project versus, say, a single condo?
Sure, when you're dealing with large commercial properties, you often qualify for different types of loans, often with better terms.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about your own personal finances then.
Right, it's more about the property's income potential. It's like the property itself becomes collateral, which lowers the risk for individual investors.
Ah, I see. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it's not as simple as big equals risky then. There's a lot more nuance to it. Okay, let's move on to another hot topic. Flipping houses. We all see those shows, everyone making a fortune quick. But Melroy, well, he doesn't seem to buy it, does he?
Not really. He compares flipping to day trading. High risk, not a sustainable model if you want to build long-term wealth. He's more of a buy and hold guy.
Buy and hold. Can you explain that a little more? Like, what does that even mean? Why does he prefer that over flipping?
It's pretty simple, actually. Buy and hold means you buy a property and hold on to it, sometimes for years, even decades. You benefit from the property's appreciation and any rental income. It's a slow and steady way to build wealth.
Okay, so less HGTV drama, more long-term strategy. I got it. But I have to admit, those no money down deals are tempting. Like, who wouldn't want to get into real estate with no upfront cash? But Melroy isn't a fan of those either, is he?
He warns against them, and for good reason. They often come with crazy high interest rates and hidden fees that can eat away at your profits.
So it's not really no money down then, more like hidden costs down the line.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, they rely heavily on appreciation, which can be, well, unpredictable. Melroy prefers building equity through solid investments, not risky financial maneuvers.
Okay, solid advice. So another myth I wanted to tackle is the idea that successful investors have this, Midas touch. They just know how to make money in real estate. Do you think that's true? What does Melroy say about that?
Melroy believes success comes from a combination of common sense, research, and understanding the market. It's not magic, it's about strategy.
So not some innate talent. You don't have to be born a real estate mogul.
He has this great example of a 10-acre lot and how different investors would approach it. One sees 40 houses, another sees luxury estates, yet another pictures a shopping center. It's all about perspective.
Oh, that's a good point. The same property can look totally different to different people depending on their experience and goals. It's not just about the property itself. It's about how you see it and how you leverage it.
Right, exactly. Aligning your strategy with the reality of the market is key. Okay, let's talk about confidence for a second. Do you think you need to be super confident to make it in real estate?
Yeah, I've always wondered that myself. You're putting a lot of money on the line, you got to be pretty sure of yourself, right? What does Melroy say about that?
Actually, he thinks everyone has self-doubt, even the most successful people. It's about not letting that doubt paralyze you.
So not about the absence of fear, but the ability to manage it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He talks about building character by going through both good and bad experiences, to build that resilience.
Okay, resilience. I like that. It's not about avoiding the tough stuff. It's about learning how to handle it. But what about time? I hear people say all the time, oh, I don't have time for real estate investing. What's Melroy's take on that excuse?
It's not about having tons of free time, it's about priorities. If it's important enough to you, you'll make time for it.
That's true. We all have the same 24 hours, right? It's about how we choose to use them.
Exactly. It's about making conscious choices about how you spend your time and energy. And those choices reflect your priorities.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about connections? Do you need to know all the right people to succeed in real estate?
Connections can definitely be helpful, but they're not essential. Melroy actually shares a story about his company entering the Portland market, despite not knowing anyone there.
Wow, so they started from scratch. How did they even do that?
They relied on thorough research and good old-fashioned networking. They were proactive and made it happen.
So even without a pre-existing network, it's possible. That's encouraging. Okay, last question before we move on. What about negotiation? Do you need to be like a master negotiator to get good deals?
Melroy's approach is more about structuring solid deals based on numbers, not on fancy negotiation tactics. He actually calls his negotiation meetings presentation meetings.
Presentation meetings. That's interesting. Could you give us an example?
Sure, he talks about a 205-unit building listed for $7.9 million. Multiple offers came in at 7.2, but the seller said no. Then, get this, they relisted it for $8.1 million.
Whoa, what? Why would they refuse a lower offer only to raise the price? That doesn't make sense.
Melroy's point is listing prices can be kind of arbitrary. He believes in doing your homework, knowing the true value, and walking away if the numbers don't add up.
Okay, so stick to your guns. Don't get caught up in the back and forth. Stay focused on what the property is actually worth.
Exactly. It's about having discipline and not getting swayed by emotions.
Makes sense. All right, last myth to bust before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Do you need to be a real estate expert to even get started? Like, do you need a degree or something?
Not according to Melroy. He believes the best way to learn is by doing. He even has a funny story about buying buildings in Portland that were built on, get this, a 70-year-old wooden pier.
The wooden pier. Seriously, that sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
Well, it highlights the kind of unexpected challenges you might face. But the point is, every deal is a learning opportunity.
So it's okay to not know everything up front.
Yeah.
Just jump in and be prepared to learn on the job.
That seems to be his philosophy. Every experience, good or bad, is a chance to grow.
All right, so we've debunked a lot of myths. But Melroy goes beyond just myth busting. He emphasizes the importance of taking action. Not letting fear hold you back.
He calls it analysis paralysis, which I think is the perfect term for it.
Right, you get stuck overthinking and researching and never actually do anything.
His advice, start somewhere. Take that first step, even if it feels small.
Like going to a real estate meetup or talking to an experienced investor.
Anything to get the ball rolling.
And I love how he views decisions, not as potential regrets, but as starting points for progress. He says that early on in his career, he was full of fear. But then he realized that being frozen by fear just leads to inaction.
Yeah, it's like he says, staying frozen is a guaranteed way to fail. Taking action, even if it leads to a mistake, is always better than doing nothing.
So true. Okay, we've only scratched the surface of Melroy's insights. He goes deeper into the tricks of the trade, which, as we've discovered, aren't really tricks, but solid principles.
Right, he talks about goal setting, perseverance, and understanding the process.
And I'm super curious to hear more about those principles. So let's dive into those in part 2 of our deep dive into the ABCs of real estate investing.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Let's pick up where we left off with Ken McElroy's The ABCs of Real Estate Investing.
Right. Last time we were talking about those key principles he emphasizes: goal setting, perseverance, and understanding the process. Let's break those down a bit further, starting with goal setting. Why is it so important in Melroy's view?
He's big on goals, thinks they give you direction and purpose, which makes sense, especially with real estate. There are so many different ways to go about it.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming, so goals help you narrow your focus.
Exactly, and they keep you motivated, especially when you hit those inevitable bumps in the road. He even suggests writing them down, making them more tangible.
I've heard that before about writing goals down. Makes them feel more real, right?
Totally. Plus, it forces you to get specific about what you actually want to achieve. You can always revisit them later, make adjustments if needed.
Okay, so it's not just setting any old goal. It's got to be a SMART goal.
Exactly. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right. So instead of saying, I want to buy a rental property, you'd say something like,
I'll buy a 2-bedroom condo downtown within 12 months, 20% down payment. Something like that.
see? Now that's a goal. You know exactly what you're aiming for.
Melroy also talks about aligning your goals with, your personal values, your overall life goals. It shouldn't just be about money. It should be about creating a life you actually enjoy.
That's a good point. It's got to be more than just the bottom line.
So, like, if you value freedom and flexibility, maybe you focus on building passive income through rentals, or if you're passionate about, say, community revitalization, maybe you invest in up-and-coming neighborhoods.
Yeah, find that sweet spot where your financial goals and your values intersect. Okay, but goals are just the first step. What about actually achieving them?
That's where perseverance comes in. He's very clear. The path to success is rarely a straight line.
Oh yeah, especially in real estate, it's a roller coaster, right?
Exactly. And Melroy encourages readers to see those challenges as opportunities, not roadblocks.
Change your perspective, don't let the setbacks get you down.
Right. And don't be afraid to lean on your support system, whether it's mentors, fellow investors, friends, family. It's a tough journey. You don't have to go it alone.
Having a good team can make all the difference. Okay, so we've got goals, we've got perseverance. What about understanding the process? What does Melroy mean by that?
It's all about knowing how things work, right? You need that blueprint, that roadmap. And that's where his book comes in.
So he's basically giving you the knowledge you need to succeed.
Exactly. From finding properties, evaluating them, financing, managing, all the way to selling. He even covers the legal stuff, taxes, insurance, the whole nine yards.
Okay, so it's a pretty comprehensive guide then.
Definitely. He gives you the tools you need to make smart decisions and hopefully avoid some costly mistakes along the way. But he also stresses that learning is ongoing. The real estate world's always changing.
Always evolving, for sure. I like that he emphasizes that. It's a continuous learning process.
Yeah, it's not about having all the answers right away. It's about being willing to learn and adapt as you go. So to sum it up, it's not about luck. It's not about some secret strategy. It's about setting those smart goals, persevering, and truly understanding the process.
And taking action, right? Melroy's big on taking action.
Absolutely. You got to take ownership of your financial future. It's not going to happen on its own.
Now, you mentioned earlier how real estate investing can be a way to align your financial goals with your personal values. Melroy doesn't specifically address that in this section, but I feel like it's a recurring theme throughout the book, right?
Oh, for sure. It's about more than just making money.
It's about building a life that's meaningful, that reflects who you are. Like, if sustainability is important to you, you could focus on investing in energy-efficient properties.
Or if affordable housing is a passion, maybe you look into multifamily properties and keep the rents reasonable.
It's about making a positive impact while building your financial security. Okay, but enough theory. I want to hear about Melroy's own experiences. What actually worked for him.
Well, luckily for us, the Invest Synopsis video gets into that next. They share some real-life examples.
Perfect, let's hear him.
They start with his very first investment, that condo we mentioned earlier. Turns out he initially bought it as part of, get this, a weekend getaway program.
So it was furnished, meant for vacation rentals.
Yep. And through that, he learned a lot about managing vacation rentals, the marketing, bookings, cleaning, the whole shebang.
Sounds like a lot to juggle, especially if you're not living nearby.
It was. But it gave him valuable experience. Eventually, he switched it to a traditional long-term rental.
The buy and hold strategy starting to take shape. So this condo was like a stepping stone to those bigger deals.
Exactly. A learning experience that helped him refine his approach and gain confidence. Then they talk about that huge apartment complex he bought with partners, the $9 million one.
Yeah, that's a big leap from a single condo. How do you even swing that?
It wasn't something he was actively looking for. It just kind of landed in his lap. He'd been networking, building relationships, and a contact mentioned this complex was coming up for sale.
So it's about who you know, sometimes.
To some extent. But he also had the knowledge and experience to evaluate the deal. And remember, he only owned a 10% stake in that project.
Right. He didn't need to buy the whole thing to benefit.
Right.
Which proves his point about partnerships being a great way to leverage capital.
Exactly. He was able to get involved in a much larger property than he could on his own. It's all starting to come together now, isn't it? The goals, the perseverance, understanding the process, the partnerships.
It's a whole system.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it wasn't all smooth sailing. Melroy's pretty honest about the challenges he's faced.
Oh, yeah. He talks about the difficult tenants, unexpected repairs, financing roadblocks.
So how do you handle those? Any tips for our listeners?
He stresses the importance of having a plan, like setting aside money for those surprise expenses and building a strong team. Lawyers, accountants, contractors.
The right people in your corner can make all the difference.
For sure. They help you navigate all the complexities and offer support when you need it. I appreciate that Melroy doesn't sugarcoat things. He keeps it real about the ups and downs.
Yeah, he's honest about the challenges, but he also makes it clear that the rewards can be worth it. It's not easy, but it can be incredibly rewarding.
And there's still more to come.
We'll be back with part 3 to wrap up our deep dive into the ABCs of real estate investing. Stay tuned. We're back for the final part of our deep dive into Ken McElroy's The ABCs of Real Estate Investing. And one thing that stood out to me is that Melroy doesn't just tell you what to do, he teaches you how to think like an investor.
Oh, absolutely. He goes beyond just giving you the information. He's helping you develop the right mindset, the mental tools to really make it in this world.
Exactly. Like when he talks about seeing the potential in properties that others might miss, it's about having that vision, seeing opportunity where others just see problems.
Reminds me of that 10-acre lot example. Same piece of land, but totally different possibilities depending on who's looking at it.
Right. One person sees houses, another sees luxury estates, another a shopping center. It's all about perspective and strategy.
And that's why he stresses market research, really understanding the nuances of the area. You got to find the right property for your specific strategy.
Not just any property, the right one. So understanding supply and demand, zoning regulations, all that good stuff.
All of it. And of course, patience, discipline, can't forget those. Real estate's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a long game.
So it's about being in it for the long haul, riding out the market ups and downs.
Exactly. Building wealth steadily, not chasing those quick flips that might not last.
Okay, so we've got the vision, the research, the patience. But what about taking action? That's a big one for Melroy, right?
Huge. Remember analysis paralysis. You can't get stuck in that research phase forever. At some point, you got to trust your gut and make a move.
Don't let fear hold you back. Of course, that doesn't mean jumping in blindly, right?
No, definitely do your homework. But don't be afraid to take that leap of faith.
And be willing to learn from your mistakes. I mean, everyone makes them, especially in real estate.
Oh, for sure. Melroy sees mistakes as learning opportunities. Figure out what went wrong, adjust, and move on.
It's about constantly improving, getting better with every deal.
The market's always changing. Successful investors are the ones who can adapt.
Another thing that really resonated with me is how Melroy emphasizes the human element of real estate. It's not just about numbers, it's about people.
Yeah, he's big on building those relationships. Agents, contractors, lenders, other investors.
Those connections can open so many doors, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just about using people to get ahead. It's about mutual respect, fairness.
Creating win-win situations.
Yeah.
That's how you build trust and lasting success.
So as we wrap up, I think it's important to remember Melroy's main message. Take action.
Don't wait for the perfect moment. Just get started. Take that first step, even if it's small.
Research some properties, go to a meetup, talk to an experienced investor, just get the ball rolling.
It's about making those small steps that add up to big results over time. And remember, the journey is a marathon, not a sprint.
Pace yourself, stay focused, and never give up on those goals.
Well, I think that's a great note to end on. Ken McElroy's The ABCs of Real Estate Investing is packed with insights and practical advice for anyone looking to get started in this world. Hopefully, this deep dive has given you some food for thought and some inspiration to take that next step.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
And we'll see you next time.